Okay, now that we're back in Unreal Engine, it's time to change our altar to, well, this rectangular shape to the actual altar. So I'm just going to go in here where I've imported my altar, and this is obviously in the project file. I can drag this over here. Now, what you're noticing is that it's actually facing that way, and that's because I didn't actually take it into Blender and properly do the location, rotation, and scale reset, and that's why it's doing this. So we're just going to have to fix that by, we're going to rotate it, and then we are going to, the material is already applied, so we're now going to have to scale it. But I would definitely put it into the position here. So let me just actually drag it into this position. Now we want to make it as big as that sort of rectangular shape, and we'll drop it in like that. I'm actually going to rotate it on the z-axis by 180 so we can turn it around like that. I think that's going to look better. And I'm also going to make it a bit bigger, probably around that point. And as you can see, this one, we could actually go and scale it up on a certain, on well, in this particular case, on this axis. And then we can bring it in there and have it just as big as the actual shape there of that rectangular shape. So now I'm going to remove that. And now let me just take this mannequin a bit further away like that. And we need to add the cloth in here. So we're going to go over into our fabric, and we've got a static mesh. And then we've got this where, yeah, there we go. So we've got the fabric. We can now rotate it. This has not been done either. So a bit of a not so good of a job on my end in this particular state. So let's just make sure we scale that up. And we need to set up a material for it. Let's have a look. This is the material in here. And for some reason, the material is not loaded up onto the mesh. So that's fine. I can select it, select the material, and plug it into this slot. And as you're noticing, this material has like hairs into it, and that's being driven by an opacity. So if you look in here, we have an alpha in the opacity mask, which is creating these sort of holes into the mesh, just giving it a nice broken apart effect. So now we just want to drop that over in here. We're just going to have to a bit eyeball it. Normally you'd want to be able to export both of these. So I just pressed Alt-3 just to make sure that I'm seeing them properly. So the scale of this is set to like 5.6. So we can select this mesh and do like a 5.6 as well. And in theory, it should be just as big. So now I'm just going to drag it in there, center it a bit like that. And we need to scale it on one of the axes in order to get it in place. So probably, I mean, I would definitely remove the sort of the grid. So I don't want any snapping or anything like that. I just want to be able to scale it uniformly like that, and then just drag it. Again, like I've said to you, a bit of eyeballing, you should be fine. Something like that. There is a bit more sort of coming through. Okay, yeah, that looks about right. Let's go back to our view mode. So now we've got the cloth in place. And now what we need in here is the goblet. And we're going to be able to just delete this cube. And we're going to be able to drop the goblet in here. And again, I do actually have the goblet already set, which is here. And I'm going to drop it into the scene, make sure that it's actually above. And actually, if we bring that box back, we should be able to use that as sort of a size reference, which would probably be quite good for us in order to get an idea of how large this needs to be. So probably like that, and then we bring it in. We're gonna have to rotate it, but what I would do is I would turn back everything, just so we can now sort of use it to snap. So we'll snap it to 90 degrees like that, delete the cube, and now we have the goblet in place, as you can see. By the way, when you move the camera around by right-clicking and moving around, just you can scroll wheel up or down for speed to be able to get in there a lot closer. So now we can have a look to see if this is moving, quite close to that cloth level, which is like that. Okay, so we now have the goblet, we have the altar, it's give or take in the center. If we press this on the Z, just on the y-axis, just to center it like that. Now we know it's actually quite centered to the mesh. So one final thing remains now is to add some columns above. So I'm going to duplicate this, bring it up here. So I'm not duplicating the wall one, I'm duplicating this one. And we can go back into our mega scans, go into arches. Let's just find arch, select it, and then apply it. Now, there's a lot of arches there. So first of all, we need to scale this up. Probably, I don't know. Is that, no, I think I would like it to sit on top of that. So I'm just going to drop it a bit. Actually, let me just put the grid back on and then drop it like that. And we definitely have too many arches. So I'm going to select this spline from this point. And if I drag like that, we'll be able to have a few less, just a few less, have some, definitely a lower amount of arches. And then we just increase the spacing. So we'll probably want a spacing of maybe like 100, 120 or something like that. And we now can sort of push them in there. Sorry, that's not what I need to actually select the meshes, push them in there like that. And now they're above. So we kind of have to make sure that we align them in there. So yeah, like that. And how many arches have we got? We've got 3, we've got 6 arches, but we've got 5 columns. So now we can just bring this a bit in. Now we just got to play with this setting. 150 maybe? Yeah, 150 looks about right. Yeah, there we go. The arches themselves are sort of facing, they're not really facing in the direction that I would like them to. But that's fine because we can rotate. Sorry, no, don't rotate it that way because you can see what happens. You've got to select the arches and then rotate. So now we rotate by 180 and we can make them move over into on top of these pillars. And now it looks a lot nicer. And if you need to, you can always sort of scale a bit on this side. Get them to align a bit better if you want. It never really, it's always good to sort of, fix issues like this. If you don't like how it looks, if you feel like the camera is gonna see that, just make sure you fix it. Okay, yeah, I think it's because it's snapping. I think we probably just need to remove the snap option, and then we'll be able to scale. Oh, sorry, that's the problem there. It's this effect. So probably something like that in order to get a better sort of scale and everything. So yeah, that's kind of the completed sort of environment that we've got. We obviously need to talk about lighting. We need to talk about atmosphere. And if we're, in terms of adding some more doodads and things like that around to make the scene better, we need some lighting setup for our skull, for our asset here, hero asset over here, the altar itself, and stuff like that. So we're gonna get onto that shortly.